Just over 500 people live in this parish, but it's hoped many more will come here to take a look at the art over the next week. Adina Campbell, BBC South Today in Ardington.
Judges will be visiting this £70 million building on Friday. They're going to visit the one in Headington, which cost £132 million very soon too. The winners for the RIBA award will be announced in May. Sinead Carroll, BBC South Today.
The University of Oxford have come together to see if that research into horses can be any use to humans. Around 1 in 4 of us will develop some sort of a tendon injury in our lifetime, either through sports or just wear and tear. The hope is, though, that by using research looking at racehorses like these, we'll be able to develop human treatment better in future.
The same factors that
success at Silverstone still tastes sweet. For the drivers, that means champagne on the podium. For the organisers, their victory a legacy that's set to stretch long into the future.
Research shows more than 300,000 children visit the GP every year, suffering the effects of second-hand smoke. Councils here in Buckinghamshire hope this small poster will have some impact on this very big health issue. Peter Cook, BBC South Today.
I'm not averse to prizes or awards being given out for, work well done. Ever since we got gold stars at school, we've been getting prizes. So, but I'm surprised. I was surprised to be honoured this way with an OBE.
Connor Sparrowhawk drowned in a bath there last July. He'd been left unsupervised despite having epilepsy.
They had a duty of care to look after Connor and keep him alive, and they didn't. You shouldn't have that level of disarray and chaos on your watch, basically.
Filling up the tank at 16,000 feet can be tricky. Think of the TriStar plane as a giant petrol station in the sky. First commissioned by the RAF in 1983, it played its part in the Falklands, 2 Gulf Wars and Afghanistan. But today is its last operational mission. With up to 130 tonnes of fuel on board, the job of the TriStar is to fly straight and steady as the other plane approaches from behind at speeds of up to 350 miles per hour. All that's left is for the fighter pilot to connect to the end of the fuel hose dangling behind.
It's a beautiful aircraft to fly, very smooth, very light on the controls, and it's a very stable platform for air-to-air refuelling as well. So I know a lot of the fast jets, they particularly like the TriStar because it's nice and easy to fly behind, and they always know we've got lots of gas to give them.
The plane's also used for transporting military personnel to war zones around the world. In all, there are 9 TriStar planes like this, but the RAF says they're too old and too expensive to maintain. Instead, these rather large pieces of British military history are to be dismantled and sold for scrap. As for 216 Squadron, which is also being disbanded, the only thing they'll be able to keep to remember her by are their memories. Tom Turrell, BBC South Today.
For many people, this is their first car. But now there's a grown-up version, and this one's got more than pedal power.
I like driving in my car. It don't look much, but I've been far.
John Bitmead has created a real-life, roadworthy little Tykes car. It takes petrol, has a tax disc, and goes a bracing 70 miles an hour. But the question is, why?
Just thought, what a wonderful idea to make something like that, but real.
Yeah.
And as soon as I thought about it, I thought, I know the car. I know the car straight away. It's got to be one of these.
It took 1,000 hours and more than £4,000 to make.
What were the things that you really wanted to maintain about the original car? Like, what were the things that you were really glad you're able to kind of work around and keep?
The major thing was the lack of windows.
Although today, I have to say, I think that could have been a nice addition.
Yeah. Yeah, that was always going to be the main thing. I had to have no windows because that is absolutely what the toy is.
It's just like the original, except there's now an airbag, proper lights and better mirrors. They're going to use it to raise money for charity.
Children's charities primarily. We want to do a John O'Groats to Land's End run, but in 30 days.
Wow.
So every day you go so far, stop in a big town and see what you can raise in that town, really.
For now though, John's just enjoying being a big kid on the road. Charlotte Stacey, BBC South Today.
You know how the time...
Singing as a form of therapy, just one of the activities here at the new Highfield unit in Oxfordshire. The £11 million centre built to help young people with serious mental health conditions. Catherine is a former patient. She was diagnosed with anorexia 4 years ago. She was admitted for a number of months.
I wasn't really aware that I was suffering from a mental disorder. It just all of a sudden just sort of everything just sort of fell in on me, and it was a massive shock. So it took me a while to sort of realise the situation and how serious it was, and I hate to admit it, but I think they probably saved my life, like coming here. So.
Staff here say the increase in the number of patients like Catherine is putting strain on the service.
Our community teams are struggling a bit at the moment. I mean, they're feeling the pressure of the increased levels of referrals, and we're trying to keep up the quality of the service we offer. We don't want to increase waiting times.
Latest figures show the growing need for mental health services for young people. It's estimated that 1 in 10 children under 16 suffers from a diagnosable mental health disorder. That's around 3 children in every classroom. Research also shows that around 1 in 15 children deliberately self-harm. Mental health charities say it comes as a result of modern-day pressures on young people.
What we did when we invented the internet was we didn't think about how it would affect children and young people. And what that means is there's a lot of pressure all the time to be online, to be promoting your brand, and your brand is Brand Me.
Mental health bosses say local services won't buckle under the pressure, but say if patient numbers continue to grow, services will need more funding and the entire system will need to be reassessed. Victoria Cook, BBC South Today.
These are probably not the kind of animals you'd expect to find at a Cornish agricultural college. That's Churchill, the bearded dragon. They've got locusts, beetles, and the sound of crickets fills the air. But where are the 280 millipedes?
Well, they're in this tank, which isn't brilliant for television, so we've got some of them out. And here's one of them right here. Feels like a sort of living piece of Velcro going across your hands. In their native Seychelles, these guys are on the vulnerable list, which is one step below extinction.
They have problems with rats over there eating them, also traffic and people, unfortunately, because as soon as they get on the floor into the ground, they're very well camouflaged. So they've just found the numbers have just deteriorated over time.
The first Seychelles millipedes here came from London Zoo 8 years ago. The breeding success seems to be down to the habitat: chemical-free peat, freeze-sterilised bark, and good old Cornish fruit and veg.
And yeah, it's just they've just thrived in it, really.
So people thought they had 1,000 legs, but they haven't.
No, they've ranged. I mean, who Paul Soul has had to count their legs, but I think around 100 to 250. But they have pairs, so each segment has one pair of legs, and they work in a motion of a Mexican wave.
That's a lot of legs.
It is.
It's no use students and staff in this place being afraid of creepy crawlies.
I don't mind handling any one of them, to be honest. I was less confident at first, but now I've got more confident over them. I can handle different types of creepy crawlies, as you say.
Millipedes from Cornwall will now be offered to other breeding programmes across the country and perhaps even sent back to their native Seychelles. There's no shortage of volunteers amongst the staff here to take them. David George, BBC Spotlight, Camborne.